The WNBA just lost half of its audience overnight, and Geno Auriemma, he's fuming, man. Paige Bueckers' draft moment was supposed to be historic. Instead, ratings nosedived 49%, and ESPN's golden rollout turned into a media meltdown. But this isn't just about bad numbers, it's about a spotlight that refuses to shine without Caitlin Clark. Geno threw shade, the media pushed the Paige agenda, and now the fans have spoken and they're not buying it. This collapse isn't a fluke, it's a reckoning. Let's unpack how a dynasty tried to rewrite the story and got exposed in real time. Let's cut straight to the cold hard facts. Paige Bueckers managed 1.3 million viewers, while Caitlin Clark commanded a staggering 2.6 million eyeballs last year. That's not just a clip, that's a nosedive that has ESPN executives sweating through their designer suits. Sources close to the network tell us there's genuine panic behind closed doors. A 49% ratings drop isn't something you can spin into a positive story. In the sports business, that kind of collapse isn't just a statistic, it's a financial earthquake that shakes the very foundation of your business model. Look at the historical context. The 2004 WNBA Draft polled 601,000 viewers. Last year with Clark, they hit 2.46 million. This year, back down to 1.25 million. That's closer to 2004 numbers than to last year's Clark-driven spectacle. After 20 years of supposed growth, one player leaves the equation and suddenly we're halfway back to square one. Everyone needs to understand the fundamental distinction. There's a massive difference between being a star and being a draw. A star has talent, a draw has gravity. They pull people who otherwise wouldn't care into the orbit of the sport. Paige Bueckers is undeniably a star. Elite skills, championship pedigree, the whole package. But these ratings tell us she's not yet a draw on Clark's level. This reality has to sting for Geno Auriemma, who's been taking passive-aggressive swipes at Clark since she first threatened his basketball monarchy. Let's not forget what he actually said about Clark and her fan base. You're a great college player like Caitlin was. The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's gonna go in that league and tear it apart. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. That's not coaching analysis anymore, that's straight up jealous uncle energy. You know the type, shows up at Thanksgiving dinner and can't help but drop these passive-aggressive jabs. That's nice, but back in those days. For decades, women's basketball ran through Connecticut like a toll road. Geno collected championships while the rest of the country watched from a distance. Then, along comes this kid from Iowa who doesn't need a UConn jersey to become a national phenomenon. She breaks scoring records, leads the country in assists, and makes regular season games feel like championship moments. Can you imagine the emergency damage control meetings happening in stores right now? For years, Geno could point to his program as the gold standard, the blueprint for success in women's basketball. And now, the very qualities he criticizes in Clark, her flashy playstyle, her emotional reactions, her popularity, are the same things creating unprecedented interest in the sport. ESPN and the WNBA spent months manufacturing Paige as the chosen one. The feature stories, the highlight packages, the countdown clocks to draft day. They pulled out every trick in the media playbook. Meanwhile, Clark's story wrote itself. No extra production value needed. The contrast couldn't be any clearer. They needed a marketing machine for Bueckers, while Clark's appeal happened organically. Just scroll through social media reactions from draft night. No Caitlin, no ratings. One viral post read. Another said, they tried to replace the sun with a flashlight. pretty brutal, but the numbers support the sentiment. The double standards in media coverage have been glaring. When Clark shows competitive fire on the court, commentators question her attitude. When Paige displays the exact same intensity, she's praised for her passion and drive. When Clark misses a defensive assignment, it's endlessly analyzed. But when other players do the same, crickets. This whole situation feels like a Hollywood executive trying to make a sequel without the original star. They hyped up the successor, focused the marketing campaign on the new lead, but audiences showed up at the box office, looked at the poster, and said, "Nah, I'll wait for the real deal to come back." The media has tried desperately to frame this as a debate about championships versus individual accomplishments. Bueckers has her national title, Clark has her record. But let's put their careers side by side and see what the numbers tell us. In her final college season, Clark averaged 31.6 points, 8.9 assists, and 7.4 rebounds, a walking triple-double threat every night. Bueckers put up 21.9 points, 3.9 assists, and 5.2 rebounds. Strong numbers, absolutely, but they don't punch in the same weight class as Clark's. Clark didn't just break records, she obliterated benchmarks that stood for over half a century. The all-time scoring board had been cemented in college basketball history for 50 years. Clark took a sledgehammer to that, and she did this while also leading the nation in assists multiple times. That's the truly unprecedented achievement here. Clark dominated both as a scorer and a playmaker simultaneously. That's like if Steph Curry and Chris Paul merged into one basketball Terminator. We're talking about a player who could rain logo threes one possession, then thread a needle-perfect pass the next. And let's acknowledge the context of competition. Clark put up these numbers with every defense designed specifically to stop her. Box and ones, triple teams, face guarding. Opponents threw everything at her and she still torched them. Everyone in the arena knew she was getting the ball, and she still delivered night after night. Millions of viewers just cast their ballots with their remote, and the results aren't even close. This isn't just about one draft night, it's about the WNBA's entire strategic direction going forward. Look at the merchandise numbers. Clark's Iowa jersey became the fastest selling jersey in NIL history. Her Indiana Fever jersey sold out within hours of being available. The secondary market prices for tickets to her games have skyrocketed. The audience has spoken with their wallets as well as their viewership. Social media engagement tells the same story. Videos featuring Clark consistently outperform other content across platform. Her highlights generate more shares, more comments, and more overall interaction than any other player in women's college basketball history. Watch how quickly the narrative shifts when the regular season ratings start rolling in. The same media outlets currently pushing the "it's all about the team" angle will suddenly discover the value of individual star power when Clark's games are doubling or even tripling the viewership of others. The balance of power in women's basketball has permanently changed, and some legends simply just can't accept it. The old guard built a foundation, no question, but Clark is building something potentially even more valuable, mainstream relevance beyond the core basketball audience. Nobody wants to address the elephant in the room: why certain narratives get pushed despite contradicting evidence. The Connecticut Basketball Factory suddenly looks like a legacy brand facing disruption from an outsider, and the establishment doesn't quite know how to handle it. There's speculation about why the media has embraced Bueckers so readily while subjecting Clark to constant scrutiny. Some believe it's because Bueckers came up through the traditional power structure, the blue blood program, the legendary coach, the established pathway to pro success. She fits neatly into their promotional playbook. Clark, meanwhile, built her platform largely outside of that traditional structure. She chose Iowa over bigger programs. She created her own spotlight rather than stepping into one that already existed. That makes her unpredictable, harder to control, and potentially a disruptive force to the old order. This ratings collapse isn't just embarrassing, it's existential for how the league markets itself going forward. The WNBA has spent years building around certain programs and pathways, assuming the star power would naturally follow. Clark has exposed the limitations of that approach by demonstrating that an authentic connection with fans matters more than institutional backing. The real tragedy here is the missed opportunity. Imagine if they promoted Clark and Bueckers as complementary stars instead of forcing this rivalry. Women's basketball could have capitalized on both of their unique appeals. Clark's long-range fireworks and Bueckers' smooth precision could have been marketed as perfect counterparts. Instead of media manufacturing, they could have let their natural competitive fire tell the whole story. These are two phenomenal players with contrasting styles and personalities. The authentic competition between them could have been compelling enough without all that artificial narrative manipulation. The combined star power could have accelerated the game's popularity rather than creating divided camps. Basketball is big enough for multiple stars with different appeals. The NBA itself figured this out decades ago. You can celebrate LeBron while also appreciating Steph Curry. You don't need to tear one down to build the other up. 20 years from now, basketball historians will study this marketing malpractice as a case study in missed opportunity. When you have two generational talents entering the league in consecutive years, the playbook should be obvious. Build them both up, create natural storylines around their contrasting styles, and let the authentic competition elevate everyone. Geno built a dynasty, but Clark built something more valuable: mainstream relevance. When the season ratings arrive, expect emergency rebranding rather than a Clark Transition 3. The basketball community isn't fooled. They're voting with their eyeballs. They recognize game-changing talent when they see it, regardless of which jersey it wears or which coach stands on the sideline. We'll keep tracking this story while the mainstream media tries to spin it. The numbers don't lie, and they're telling us something fundamental about the future of women's basketball. It belongs to those who can connect with audiences on a visceral level, not just those who come from the most prestigious programs. If you think Geno needs to focus on coaching instead of criticizing Clark, drop a jealous uncle energy in the comments down below. Let us know if you'll be watching Clark's WNBA debut and what you can expect from her rookie season. Hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started on exposing the basketball establishment. And speaking of exposing, you won't believe what just happened on the court. Kelsey Mitchell just went off and silenced one of Caitlin Clark's biggest haters. Fever fans went loco, and the clip, pure gold. Stay tuned because this next one is a must-watch.